Hey guys, Political Spatula here, back with another day of Propaganda Watch, and I have been really wanting to take a look at this video about Donald Trump's dictatorship, and how people around the globe think that Donald Trump's going to be a dictator, and he's working up for it, and that's what he's doing to the United States government, and that is laughable. That is genuinely laughable that Democrats across the globe think Donald Trump is making a dictatorship. So let's get into the video. And I'm going to tell you why Donald Trump isn't installing a dictatorship within the United States, and this guy is falling for Democratic hoaxes. Because that's really what it comes down to is this is just another perfect example of leftist propaganda. Let's get into the clip here.
Here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
Since Trump started in politics, he has been underestimated. Few thought he would win in 2016.
Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank. Okay. I guarantee.
Then supporters
Okay, let's touch on something first. I'm so glad that leftists rally around one of the most corrupt individuals in United States history, Nancy Pelosi, the woman worth like $290 million. She made all of her money from stock trading, and her husband owns a company, a venture capitalist firm where he pretty much gets people rich off of stocks. She's corrupt. She is downright corrupt and evil. She had authority over the Capitol security during January 6th and did nothing, by the way. And did absolutely nothing. Just to turn it around on Donald Trump like the sham it was to make him look bad. But no, please bring up clips of Nancy Pelosi to defend yourself as to why Donald Trump is making a dictatorship. Because you're immediately losing your argument the moment when you get the most corrupt people in the United States government to run the bat for you on your YouTube video. You've lost, buddy. That's almost like having a king in your country. Huh, that's weird. Imagine living under a king, much less a fucking dictator.
told us ideas like the Muslim ban should be taken seriously, but not literally, only for those ideas to
The Muslim ban does need to happen, absolutely. And it is people like this guy that ignore facts that it just makes my blood boil completely and totally. I'll show a statistic here. The rape statistics in Europe from 2000 to 2023. Britain's population is one-fourth the size of the United States, and they have 2.5 times the rape. 85% of the rape is from Pakistani men, and 58% of gang rape is from Pakistani men. There absolutely needs to be a Muslim ban. This guy ignoring those facts and statistics is what leads to those heinous crimes happening, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care how many young women get raped. He doesn't care how many white people get murdered. He doesn't. He just truly doesn't. He would rather tell you why Donald Trump's evil instead of telling you how Donald Trump is trying to save people. Because, like I said, it's super weird that this guy doesn't want to talk about the fact that 85% of rapes are caused by Pakistani men and 58% of gang rapes are caused by them. Like, what is this guy's stance? Where does this guy stand? Does he not care about his fellow countrymen? Because that's what it seems like to me. He doesn't care about women, doesn't care about children. He's just out here, another person out here looking for fame, spreading their propaganda and Trump hate. It's ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous. These Democrats look at the face of the facts and say, no. I'd rather not believe that Muslims rape people because that's hateful. No. You know what's hateful? Muslims in general. They were just a hateful group. It sucks. It's true. And by the way, Muslims believe in sex slaves. They have a bunch of verses in the Quran about Muslims having sex slaves. And guess what? They rape women on death row so they can't get into heaven. And, of course, being a Democrat, he has to support that because they all do. As soon as you approach them with that, oh, Muslims rape people, and they also do it to women on death row so they can't get into heaven. And they won't have a defense for it. They just won't because you can't defend something like that. All people like this guy and Brian Tyler Cohen and Jennifer Welsh, all they will ever do is ignore it. Ignore the rape because if they do, then they can pretend like it's not actually happening at all. It's really sick. It's real sick. And by the way, these people also chant for the death of the West. And, Donald Trump's evil. Not the people calling for the death of your country and the death of a whole race of people. No, but Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is. Please, Mr. Brendan Miller, tell me how Donald Trump is evil, and we're only 30 seconds into your video already. And it seems like you just don't know what you're talking about.
Columnists writing articles with titles like "There will be no Trump coup," shortly before Trump sent a mob to the Capitol to try and overturn the election. So, given this long...
Okay, hold on. Trump did not send a mob to the Capitol. That is why the BBC is getting sued by Donald Trump, because they made it seem like that. And that's what happens when you live under a monarchy where the news controls everything. Because this guy doesn't even know what's going on. He wouldn't have said that if he would have known that the BBC was getting sued into the dirt for saying that exact same thing, and he regurgitates it like an absolute idiot. Can you imagine being so blind that you say something so stupid? Impeccable, Brendan Miller.
We're going to have ICE surround the polls. We will never again allow an election to be stolen.
We should take over the voting in at least 15 places.
The signs seem everywhere.
ICE being at the polls is a bad thing? How? How many illegal immigrants does Brendan Miller expect to be voting in the United States' elections? It should be none. And we should have ICE at the polls. We should have voter ID. Why are you okay with the idea, even the idea alone, that people from America could go to Great Britain and decide how your parliament is? Decide who's on parliament. You would flip crap. You would flip crap, Brendan Miller, if Americans came and decided how you should run your country. So why do you think it should be okay for illegal immigrants to come here and decide how we should run our country? They don't understand the Constitution as much as Americans do, and they don't have as much of an intimate relationship with the Constitution as Americans do. But no, please, let's import these people who don't understand that all people are equal, because they don't. They don't understand that because they come from countries and cultures that don't believe that. But Brendan Miller can play blind and deaf all he wants. This is a 30-minute video, and this is already a joke, an absolute joke of a video.
He says, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. And he's suggesting that that's what we should do, that we should bring in the troops and shoot the protesters.
No justice, no
During the George Floyd protests of his first term, Trump wanted...
Yes. George Floyd, the dude on meth and fentanyl. We know for a fact that he had meth and fentanyl in his system when he died. He already served time for drug possession, theft, trespassing, aggravated robbery, using a counterfeit $20 to buy cigarettes. And by the way, in his eulogy, they said that he couldn't boil water. He was so stupid he couldn't boil water. It wasn't Donald Trump's fault. It was the protesters' fault for not even knowing who they were defending. And Brendan Miller, it's the exact same thing. Did he even mind to do any research at all on George Floyd? I doubt it. Or he would have seen that he was not even close to being a good person, and he couldn't boil water. What are we talking about here? Donald Trump's dictatorship? More like Donald Trump versus stupid people. because you have people like him that close their eyes when the facts rear their ugly head. Whatever, let's move on.
I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. Quote, people who are totally loyal to him, that follow orders. At another point, he appeared to refer to the massacre of protesters in Tiananmen Square in 1989, telling officials the Chinese generals would know what to do. Well, in his second term,
These are all allegations. None of that was fact, by the way. He says that as though he knows for a fact that Trump said that. Brendan Miller was there when those words left Donald Trump's mouth. No, guess what? It's all allegations, buddy. More allegations from the left against Donald Trump. You people are trying so hard to take him down. I think that you're the Nazis because of how hard you want to silence your political opponents. How badly the Democrats are trying to court pack and make new states so they can have votes. Are the ones trying the power grab here, not Trump.
Trump has made his appointments differently. Kash Patel, for example, is head of the FBI. A man whose qualifications include being a podcaster and writing a children's book casting himself as a wizard fighting a Russia collusion hoax. The Secretary of Defense is Pete.
Kash, for 9 years, was a public defender. For 3 years, he was a DOJ prosecutor. For 2 years, he was on the House Intelligence Committee. He was on the National Security Council for a year. He was the Deputy Director of National Intelligence and Chief of Staff to the Security of Defense. But no, Kash Patel, he's not qualified for the job. All of that time serving the public and he isn't fit to serve the public. It just doesn't make sense. This is what I love so much about the Democrats. He just called Kash Patel and he's about to call Pete Hegseth unqualified for the job. And I'm going to read off Pete Hegseth's career here in a second. It's ridiculous. They take all the good things that these people have done and sweep them under the rug and pretend like they didn't happen so they can slander these people.
Hegseth, TV host and party boy, now in charge of 1.3 million active duty troops. So
Pete Hegseth, a party boy. He has an impeccable career. Brendan Miller is actually a scumbag. Pete Hegseth was a commissioned officer who rose to the rank of major. He deployed to Guantanamo Bay, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And he's just a party boy. It's not like he is a combat veteran who was an officer. The rank of major, no, nope. Pete Hegseth has no experience for this position. You know who has less experience for the position? Monarchs. People who were literal children half the time forced to run a country. Wait, who has a monarchy? Oh, Great Britain, the people Brendan Miller lives under, the people that are controlling that puppet. That's right.
So why has Trump hired such underqualified people? One common explanation is,
And like I said, these are not underqualified people. He is making them seem underqualified so that he can drum up Trump hate. And again, this is the type of rhetoric that gets people to commit political violence. When you knowingly lie, like Brendan Miller, to deface Donald Trump, I mean, what are you asking for here? What is the left even asking for anymore? Because it only seems like violence. When they lie to make people look bad, it really just looks like they're just trying to call for violence without actually calling for violence. But hey, I don't know. That might not be true.
from the military. They even fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, something that has never happened before. There have also been...
Okay, let's get something straight, by the way. And guess what? All you have to do is look up, does the chairman of the Joint Chiefs lose constitutional rights? And guess what? Yes, like all United States troops, they do lose constitutional rights because military personnel have restrictions on their free speech and cannot participate in political campaigns, support, or oppose political parties in uniform, or make statements that show contempt towards government officials, like that dude did who got fired. But Brendan Miller's going to ball around. This has never happened before. This has never happened before. He was fired for something, for a law they put in place to prevent another civil war from happening. Troops aren't allowed to support political opponents, especially not commissioned officers. Especially not. And so this guy walking around thinking he was too high and mighty to be touched did something no troop is allowed to do, and he got fired for it. And you're gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, I don't know why this happened. This is never Donald Trump's a dictator for it." No, no, it specifically is in place because of the Civil War.
Trump has also tried to corrupt the neutrality of the military.
You think this crowd would have showed up for Biden? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't.
The statistic is an overwhelming majority of people in the military are Republican. I think that goes to show something about the Republican mindset and how they care for other people and care about their country and their countrymen. And it's not great that Donald Trump had troops booing him, but it's far from Adolf Hitler. Like, to compare that to Adolf Hitler is ridiculous. Like, come on now.
Favor. Another example is the FBI, the purpose of which is to protect America against organized crime and terrorism, and maybe the odd investigation into the paranormal, but is now used to take revenge on Trump's critics, to act as drivers for the buddies of Kash Patel's girlfriend, or to investigate the widow of someone ICE agents have just shot without justification. But perhaps
Hold on. Hold on. I've already watched this video 2 times, okay? Both times with my sister, because she's helping me along with this YouTube journey as well. And every time I watch this, I feel absolute outrage at this moron. This moron. Biden used the FBI to target political opponents, investigate conservatives, monitor activists, and pressure companies to censor viewpoints. All what you're claiming Trump is doing. This is just propaganda. This isn't like genuine facts. And this isn't coming from the bottom of this guy's heart. There's no way. Or he did absolutely no research. And I also love how he showed a footage of Renee Good. She was fleeing from federal agents. You couldn't do that to an FBI agent. You couldn't do that to a CIA agent. You couldn't do that to a sheriff, a deputy, a cop. So why would you be able to do it to another federal officer? You wouldn't. And by the way, in the footage that you don't show, the other angle, you can clearly see that she is trying to run over ICE officers. And number 2, she's driving towards a crowd of people. And number 3, at that point, she is in a 2-ton weapon. What's more dangerous? A 2-ton vehicle or a 9 gram bullet? Like, I'll tell you what would do a lot more damage to a human being. Hitting them with a car would do a lot more damage than shooting them. So stop acting like she's just all innocent. She's not.
Extraordinary images out of Los Angeles tonight. Hundreds of National Guard troops now on the ground, deployed by President Trump, even though state leaders say they didn't ask for them and don't want them there.
in June last year, Trump sent National Guard and Marines to Los Angeles, and since then Trump has deployed troops all over the US.
Donald Trump is no dictator because he deploys National Guard troops on U.S. soil. This is another example of him completely clipping the wings of facts so that they fit in his neat little square. Okay, Donald Trump is a dictator because he's done that. Dwight D. Eisenhower's a dictator. John F. Kennedy's a dictator. Lyndon B. Johnson's a dictator. And Richard Nixon's a dictator. These are all, and they're allowed to do that. Presidents are allowed to indeed do that. Even more so with the Marines. I don't think he understands how the United States government works. One, because the things he is saying is asinine and do make sense within the legal framework of the United States. I just don't think he understands how the government works as a British person because he lives under a king.
Since September 2025, at least 128 people have been killed in dozens of airstrikes on alleged drug boats. Now let's put aside for one moment that these are, best case, executions without trial, without evidence, and with no imminent threat to the US.
That is absolutely best case scenario. But when you have all of the facts, best case scenario becomes whatever the facts fit, right? So let's get the facts straight. These are human traffickers, that sex traffic children and traffic drugs in the United States that ruin thousands of people's lives. That is what Brendan Miller is hiding from you. The fact that best case scenario is nothing. Best case scenario is this. We actually got them. We got the drug dealers. We got the human sex traffickers. There's not going to be any more drugs coming in the United States and no more humans being sex trafficked. That is what Brendan Miller should be looking at is the win. Not, oh, he blew up a bunch of cartel members. And he doesn't even say that. He doesn't mention that once, because if he does, he starts to lose his argument, because then you have to ask yourself, why is this guy supporting terrorists and cartel members? Why is he? That is my question for you, Brendan Miller. Why are you supporting terrorists and cartel members? And any Democrat, answer me that question. Why do you support human sex traffickers?
For many, this won't seem too different to past American foreign policy. But if you're looking for signs of an emerging...
He's absolutely right. Obama, he had this neat little tactic during his wars where in the Middle East, Obama would hit a target, it would blow up, and he would wait until the first responders show up to hit the target again. So he was killing paramedics, firefighters, and police officers. And Donald Trump is the bad guy for blowing up cartel members and terrorists. Please tell me more. Tell me more, sir.
Dictatorship. What's most worrying about these actions is the precedent they set for the US military breaking US laws. Killing your opponent when they're disarmed is dishonorable, but it's also clearly against US law. In fact, the
Like I said, he's just ignored the fact that Obama... What's this guy's point exactly? Donald Trump is protecting the United States.
US Law of War manual even uses firing upon the shipwrecked as an example of the kind of thing that even ordinary soldiers would know is unlawful. We're used to hearing about America's illegal wars, and as I record this, Trump has started a war with Iran that is against international law. But
okay, Trump has started a war that's against international law. I'm working on a video right now about Iran, and I'm going through all of that, so I'm glad he said something about that. This guy probably should be worried that he's defending a nation that raped and murdered a 16-year-old girl so that she couldn't get into heaven. Well, they raped her before they murdered her so she couldn't get into heaven. Gang, by the way, a bunch of people did it. And they started this war. They started this war by attacking our ally and attacking people in the Strait of Hormuz. Are we going to forget that? I think they broke international law first.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
Let's get something out of the way right now. What they are saying is insurrection. Insurrection is a violent uprising by a group of people to overthrow their government or stop government laws from being enforced in the United States. It is insurrection. While the people that may have been speaking weren't actively committing insurrection, the Democrat voters actually are committing insurrection. Because the Democratic senators and governors are telling these people to do these things, and they are acting on it. They are being violent. They are stopping Donald Trump from doing what Donald Trump needs to do, By the way, Donald Trump was voted in by the Electoral College and the popular vote. He is doing what the American people want. The Democrats are playing at civil war right now, and they are pretending like that's not true. But this video is going to be broken up into 2 or 3 parts. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to stop it now. I mean, it's ridiculous. To be so disconnected from reality is genuinely terrifying. Alright, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys liked the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a good one.